Hey there, welcome to Consult the Blind Guy. My name is Andrew. In today's episode, we are covering Leda Day 25. Wow, 25 days of going live already. This ought to be a good, interesting subject for you in the sighted community. I hope you enjoy it, and I'm grateful that you're here. If you're new, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you can stay updated on the latest videos, live streams, and more. If you're a subscriber, welcome back. It's greatly appreciated that you're here with us. I hope you enjoyed this stream.
Disappointed by reality, trying to come back, start something new, build up yourself, it's all to you. Stay strong no matter what they say, you keep getting better every day. Hold your head up, never gonna stop, fierce and proud, stand up and shout. Stand my ground.
Hey there, my name's Andrew. As I said, today we're covering day 25 of the Leda Challenge, and I've got a special treat for you in the sighted community because today is dedicated to you. I've got some questions, and I hope you're here to be able to give some answers. I'm going to pull up my notes so I can explain what today's mission is. That way you really understand why I chose this topic, because I am going live 2 times a day, once here on this channel as well as in our Leda Facebook group privately for those of us participating in the challenge. Now, you're probably asking, well, why am I doing this twice and why is this episode dedicated to me? Well, that is because when this challenge started, I was under the impression, like a couple other people, that we would be going live here on our channels rather than privately in a Facebook group. Dumb mistake, but hey, I'm a man of my word and I am here every day this month to live stream here as I promised I would be. And today's mission ought to be interesting because I picked one of my better topics because there's only 3 visually impaired or legally blind people within the challenge. So today's episode is dedicated to everybody who is sighted. And today's mission is the way you present yourself on camera determines how well you communicate with your audience and how they take in your content and message. Your mission is to go through the show flow with one of your pre-chosen topics and practice these on camera. Tips: don't forget to give specific feedback to each other as well. Of course, you can give me all the tips and feedback and criticism you want because all of it is very beneficial for me to improve on the content here for you on this channel. I will close out this note and open up my other note. That way I can give you the spiel that I'm going to give everybody in my live stream today for Leda. And I would love to hear from you in the live stream as well as in the replay your answers to these questions. I know we have a lot of people here who are visually impaired, so you're going to understand these questions, but I would love your input as well. Maybe you have more questions to add in for the sighted community, and I would love if you would participate with that as well. So today's going to be an interesting one for the Leda Challenge. Let's see who's here with us live today so I can acknowledge you for being here. Hey, Divided by Sai and Kim. Great to see you here, ladies. Greatly appreciated. I think you're going to love today's topic. I'm choosing out of my predetermined topics that we had to choose for Leda, questions for the sighted. So I've got 10 questions for you in the sighted community to answer. It would be great if you could answer these here in the live stream. And if you're not here in the live stream, I would love to hear your thoughts in the replay down in the comments below. please don't forget to use hashtag Team Replay so I know you were here with us after the live stream. Greatly appreciate you. Hey, Dr. Elo, what's going on, my cuz? I can't thank you enough for being here. Greatly appreciated. I think you're going to love today's stream because I picked a good topic because of only having a few of us in the Leda challenge that are visually impaired or legally blind. Today's dedicated to everybody that is well sighted or fully sighted. So it ought to be a very, very interesting conversation today for Leda. And I'm going to pull up my notes here. That way I can hopefully be able to see them as well as the chat. That way I can acknowledge you all here as well and be able to see what your thoughts and comments are. Hey, Dale, nice to see you here as well. Greatly appreciate you joining us, sister. Can't thank you all enough for your encouragement, support, and being here with me on this channel and engaging with each other in our community. It's greatly appreciated. All right, so as I said, today I'm dedicating the whole thing to you, the sighted community, and getting some questions answered for the blind community, because these are some things that we all have in our head that we would love to ask you in the sighted community, and some people just don't want to do that because they feel it might be offensive or cause issues. But today I'm going to do my best to break some of these misconceptions, hopefully. So you ready for today's show? Because I have a feeling you're going to really enjoy this one. Questions for the sighted. Oh, let me see what was posted real quick. I seen a big comment come up, so I want to see what that is. My friend is working on some research for developing technology that helps the visually impaired. She said she has sent you some messages. Dale, would that be the Junio or Junie or how you? I'm not sure how you would pronounce that. Is it the woman from Korea? Because I received a couple emails. All right. Well, I'm sorry I have not responded to her because the way that some of the message comes across seems a little bit spammy, hackerish kind of thing. So I had not acknowledged it because of the way that it was presented. But if it is somebody you know, I will definitely respond to that email, because when it first came across, it was very, very iffy to me. There's definitely one thing that I wanted to avoid was having somebody trying to steal my channel because of clicking on something in the email, because that is freaking possible and I hate that. They can actually hack our stuff just by sending us an email. But I will definitely acknowledge that. I am sorry it's taken me this long to acknowledge it, but as I said, I did not want to risk my computer getting hacked or having any kind of issues with the channel. But now that I know that it is a legit email, I will definitely respond to her today. Thank you, Dale, for that opportunity and letting me know as well, because I was real nervous about that. Awesome. I will definitely check that out. Thank you. All right. Now, into today's topic. I hope you and the sighted community enjoy this and will please participate here in the live. And if you're not with us live, please participate in the comments below. We would greatly appreciate it. Not just me, but our community, because we are hoping by getting some of these questions answered, we can finish with the whole misconception of the sighted community when it comes to us in the blind and visually impaired community. Because these misconceptions and stereotypes do irritate us to no end, and that is my goal, is to help break these misconceptions and stereotypes and educate you, the sighted, about us in the blind and visually impaired community. All right, number one, why is it that you in the sighted community think because we are blind or visually impaired that we're automatically deaf? Yes, there is some eye conditions that do have deaf with them, but we're not all hearing impaired. We do not need you to yell your questions at us. We do not need you to yell to get our attention. You can actually just talk in a normal tone of voice to somebody who is visually impaired. So we would love, absolutely love to know why people in the sighted community automatically assume because we are low vision or blind that we cannot hear. Because I don't know about you in the sighted community, but us in the blind and visually impaired community do not like getting yelled at when you're sitting right next to us. Sorry, I wanted to emphasize on that whole aspect of being blind and getting yelled at. Didn't want to blow out your ears, but I hope that gives a little bit more of an emphasis on why we get irritated. Hey, Aaron, nice to see you here, brother. Greatly appreciated. You're gonna love today's episode, I'm telling you. I'm sure that our whole team is going to love this because I will be sharing it to Slack afterwards, if it hasn't already been shared there anyway. Because I know our quarantine fam is usually pretty good at that when we all go live. Okay. If you're here, I would love to hear your answer on what you think about that first question. Hey, Greg, nice to see you here. You're definitely going to love today's topic, being fully blind. I hope you have some more questions possibly to add into this, because I will definitely be doing this series again with all the questions that we have for the sighted community. But question number one for today is, why do you in the sighted community automatically assume that because we're blind, that we're also hearing impaired or deaf? Just wondering, because this is one thing that we deal with on a constant basis. Not necessarily from our own family and friends, but out in the general public. There are a lot of people who will see us and think, okay, well, they're blind, so now I have to yell at them to get their attention. You don't have to. And we really prefer you not to yell at us, because it is an annoyance to automatically be assumed that we're deaf as well as visually impaired. Okay, I'm not seeing anybody answer on that one, so we will go to number two. Second question. Why do you think blind people see nothing but black? Because not every blind person is actually 100% blind. blindness is actually a spectrum. It's like a gradient. There is different levels of blindness. For instance, right now you have me, you have Kim, divided by sight, and the blind guy show. All of us have blindness within us. But there's only one person that I've named right now that is 100% blind. And Greg, if you would be willing, what is it that you see? Is it darkness? Is there any kind of light to your blindness, colors, anything like that? Or is it actually all darkness? I would love your input on that, being the one that is fully blind in our community. I would greatly appreciate your response, because I know there is a lot of people out there who automatically assume when we say blind that they do not understand that there is a varying level of blindness. Excuse me. No, Dale, I did not forget you. I was just trying to give a quick couple references. But the majority of us here in the stream right now are legally blind or fully blind. And it is a huge misconception that every one of us is completely blind. And in fact, statistics show that 90% of those who are classified as blind have some level of sight, whether it's extreme tunnel vision or the lack of tunnel vision and you only have periphery, or the glaucoma and cataract situation where it's like very clouded, or the light perception, kind of like um Matt from Blind to Billionaire. He is legally blind, but he still has a little bit of light perception, which means that he can actually notice brightness out in front of him, like a TV screen that is super bright, or a light, or the sunshine through the windows, things like that. And it is a very huge misconception that all of us are 100% blind. And as I said, 90%, 90% of those who are legally blind do have some level of sight. That means only 10% of the world's population is actually 100% blind. Now, let's see what we have being said in the chat so we can get them answers out there as well. Aaron Waller says, I think the yelling thing is a misconception. People are ignorant and often don't understand that one disability may be different from another. And I think that they yell in order to be clear, as the physical cues may not be as visible, so they think being louder equals being more clear or understood. That's a good perception. Thank you, Aaron, for your participation in answering some of these questions. Greatly appreciated. Right, Greg. Just because our eyes don't work doesn't mean our ears don't work either. Love it. I think the misconception they only see black is because of TV and movie representation. They're always pitch black, blind characters. Yes, I can definitely see your point on that one as well, Dale. Thank you for putting that in there. I agree with Dale. The only seeing black is related with what media presents, and I think by saying you can't see may mean black, just as people relate it to being in the dark. Just a guess. It totally understand that. Thank you, Aaron. Uh, Daredevil, Pitch Black Blind, Tales from Avatar, Pitch Black Blind, whatever other famous blind fictional characters, full blind, it's all they know about us. Yes, and because you brought up the whole Daredevil thing, I do actually want to touch on this a little bit because some people in our own community of the blind and visually impaired, when they automatically hear the phrase of Daredevil, get very, very defensive and will go on the offensive to state that that concept of Daredevil is not true. But I could tell you right now the concept from the movie of Daredevil is actually possible. Now, some people in our community will actually argue the fact that you cannot have any kind of visual perception like Daredevil in the movie. But I can actually attest personally that that concept is actually real. Why? Because I can actually visualize things just like he does in that movie. If you really think about it, if you use echolocation, and if you're unfamiliar with what echolocation is, it's the concept of using sonar like a bat or like a dolphin. You use your ears to be able to investigate and listen to your environment around you, and you can actually use that echo like sonar. And in my case, I can actually close my eyes and listen to the environment around me and actually visualize some of those things, whether it's a tree or a car or TV or things on the wall. I have such a good hearing because I utilize my hearing that I can actually visualize the outlines of those items, just like a bat would, to be able to fly around at night, to be able to go after bugs or avoid trees or any other object. So that is another misconception, even in our own community, that the whole daredevil concept isn't actually possible when it is. I can sit outside in the rain and I can visualize with my eyes closed because I am low vision. With my eyes closed, blindfolded, I can actually use my ears good enough to differentiate distance between me and different objects. Like I said, whether it's on the wall, on the floor, on the ground, wherever. I can actually have a mental picture of that object. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that because I hear a TV that I can actually sit here with my eyes closed and see everything on the TV, but I can actually perceive where that TV is on the wall or on its stand to know what direction it's in. Excuse me. And that's one misconception that I would actually like to get our community to open up to a little bit more, because there's a lot of people who are legally blind or fully blind who will state, well, Daredevil's not real, it's a character, and his echolocation perception is not real. And I can tell you it is. Not everybody has that good of a sensitive hearing or ability with their echolocation, but it is actually possible to have a visualization of what is around us. It just takes a lot of practice. That was one thing that I amazed my cane instructor with when it came to my O&M training. Because when we took my O&M trainer out and we went walking, she actually blindfolded me. And we walked around my neighborhood. And one of the paths that I would take to go to my local store down the road from us was cutting through somebody's yard to go through a hole in the fence because we lived in a trailer park. And instead of walking all the way out and around the neighborhood through the trailer park to get out and onto the sidewalk and go down to the store, she wanted me to show her the exact way I would take on a regular basis. So I showed her, and I had to do it blindfolded. And when we did it that day, the neighbors that I was cutting through their yard had their sprinkler out in their yard and turned on. And before I even made it to their grass for their yard, I knew the sprinkler was on. That amazed my instructor to begin with because I heard it and we were over 50 foot away. Then we started walking through the grass in the yard, and she was worried that I was going to walk right through the sprinkler and get wet and get her wet because she was staying right there with me to be able to monitor how I behaved in the grass with my cane and if I avoided objects and if I could make it through the sprinkler without getting wet or not. And it amazed her that not only did I hear it early, but I managed to know exactly where the water was falling in the grass so I could have completely walk out and around it and continue walking past it without a single drop getting on her or I. And that was all because of using echolocation. Um, Scrolling up in the chat here real quick. I'm looking. Sorry, I went off on a little tangent there explaining stuff. Um, all right. Divided by sight. Sent you a direct message. 3 people of sighted community need to be educated. Yes, divided by sight, and that is my goal with today's episode is to help educate the sighted by hopefully getting not only our community to answer these questions, but as well as the sighted community to answer these questions. That way, hopefully, this little bit does educate people out there to some of these things. Yes, Daredevil may be a fictional character, but as I was just saying, if you know how to use your echolocation, you can actually have an ability like in the movie to where we can visualize. It might not be a sensory thing that everybody can do, but there are some of us in the community who can actually do that. That's impressive. It is true we can develop extra senses. It's just that sighted people think all of us can do it, and that's the part that isn't true. Exactly, Dale. And that's where it comes to be a thing that we each have to educate the sighted about instead of just letting them assume that we're all in the same situation. We have to take that step to educate each of them about the different levels of our sight in our specific situations because each of us is different. Hey, Jess Sampson, bruh, thank you for showing up. Greatly appreciated. Would definitely love to hear your thoughts on some of these answers as well. Dad says I didn't develop that sense, but my sense of orientation developed so well that I confuse people when I arrive to a new country and I just know where everything is. Yep, I can totally see that. I'm definitely one like that. If I know the environment I'm going into, I can do pretty good. It, I I can totally agree with that statement too, Greg. I can hear a mouse fart at 50 feet. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, divided by sight. I have actually seen people skateboard because of echolocation. I've seen people ride mountain bikes, run, snowboard, ski. There is a lot of things that people don't understand when it comes down to our echolocation. Now, as I said, not everybody in our community for being blind and visually impaired has that amount of sensory for their ears to be able to visualize everything, but they still have enough of an echolocation ability to at least understand the different locations of objects and depth when it comes to walking or doing things. That's uh, uh, Leah. Yes, I have seen the movie, and that part of your statement isn't it isn't, but yet it is kind of true because I have the ability to where I can step outside right now and I can tell you based on just my hearing with echolocation everything that's going on my block for about a good half to a quarter mile or more. My hearing is exceptional. I can hear for quite a distance. Somebody can go down the road right now and talk in a regular tone of voice and be down a good distance, and I can tell you right where the hell they are and what they're saying. Actually, yes, his senses in the movie are exaggerated, but like I said, if you have that ability to use your echolocation to a great extent, you do have that ability. Like Greg said a minute ago, he can hear a fart from a mouse at 50 feet. Now, Greg being 100% blind, I'm sure he can use his echolocation in here for quite a distance because he's had to experience it for such a long time. So he has that ability to be able to know a great deal away from him just from hearing rather than just hearing up close. I'm not saying he can hear like miles and miles and miles away, but we can actually hear a good distance away just from our echolocation. And Leah, I will be a part of your team replay today because I was in a live stream for the live streaming pros to see what today's discussion was. So I will have to be a part of the replay team for you today. You know, I was talking about cookies is making me hungry. No, totally understand that Leah, and thank you for your input as well. I walk around in the dark a lot in the mountains. Every fall I've been not using my hand lamp. I somehow know where I'm going. I can see how echolocation can be totally possible. Yes, Samson. In fact, I had mentioned before how I went on my trip to South Dakota. And when I went on my trip to South Dakota to see one of our Marine Corps brothers, he actually took me out hunting and wanted to evaluate how my blind ass would shoot and walk out in the dark. So we went pheasant hunting. When we left the house, it was approximately 4:30, 5 o'clock, so that only gave us a couple hours to go hunting before it was pitch black out in South Dakota. And when I mean pitch black, I mean pitch black. My ass could not see a single thing on the way back. We ended up on our way out crossing through a small little tree line that they had on their property before we got out to the fields and things like that we were going to hunt in behind the house. And my Marine Corps brother actually has barbed wire set up in his woods to be a trap for trespassers. That way, if they come walking in and they're uninvited, they're going to fall on barbed wire and get cut the hell up. And it's set exactly to be at shin and knee height, to where if you're not knowledgeable of it being there, you are guaranteed you're going to step in that barbed wire and you are going to get majorly hurt. We ended up walking through that, or well, over that. Then, after we got out of the woods, we walked through 7 fields, each field separated by tree line. Each of those tree lines have a small amount of barbed wire, all set up so that if anybody trespasses, they're going to fall in it and get hurt. That way, it'll be their little lesson not to trespass again. After 2 hours of hunting, it was pitch black out before we decided to return to the house. On the way out there, we had his dog with us, who has one of the vibrating collars for hunting. That way he could go out, retrieve the pheasant, and come back with it. On the way out, the dog stayed with me. On the way back, my Marine Corps brother walked in front of me about 5 paces with his dog in tow with him. That way I was all alone behind him and had to walk just by hearing and hearing alone. We walked in Marine Corps pace. Every time his left foot went forward, my left foot went forward. Every time his right foot went forward, my right foot went forward. It was as if we were back at boot camp marching in sync like we're supposed to. We walked through each of those 7 fields and tree lines without a single issue. Even when we got back to the property line for the house, he stepped over that barbed wire without saying a single thing to me through each of them, and I stepped over them. Because I was capable of doing that, he was very shocked, for one, and then he was very surprised that the Marine Corps would not allow me to go to combat because he wants my ass as the point man. He wants me as a squad leader because I have such good hearing that it would be wise, if I was on the fire team, to be the one out front with my teammates either along my side or behind me, because I will be able to tell you when someone or something is in a place it's not supposed to be. And our brother Phil actually thinks, still to this day, that I would be a great asset to any of our brothers in arms to be able to go out into a combat situation and tell you, okay, our enemy's over there, or our enemy's over there. fire that way or that way or that way or whatever. I could tell you just by sound where they were and how far away from us they were. You hear very well, but you can't navigate with echolocation. That's very interesting, Greg. Thank you for sharing that. Because I would have I would have assumed because of you being able to hear well and use echolocation that you would be able to navigate. Well, of course, not like navigate in the sense of GPS and know exactly where the hell you're going in the sense of walking down the road and going, okay, this is my corner I have to turn at, but in the sense that you would be able to avoid walking into a tree or a car or somebody else walking down the road. Oh yeah, no. I can definitely understand that. I ain't gonna hear in the neighbor's house, but I can definitely tell you what's going on in my house and out in the yard. Last year navigated 30 miles in the Frank Church Wilderness in Idaho, no moon or headlamp, and made it back to camp pretty easy. Just takes reps. Yes, it does, Samson. It definitely does. Hey, Sister Sue, nice to see you with us. Great to see you here. Greatly appreciated. Same here, Greg. I'm one of those. As long as I know the area that I'm going to be in, I don't use my cane either. In fact, we went out shopping last week and I was having one of them wonderful low vision days on top of it being super freaking bright out. And I didn't bring my cane because I assumed I was going to be able to navigate easily because I was used to the environment. Next time I go out to the store, I'm not taking any chances. I will be taking my cane with me just in case because I cannot stand when people cut me the hell off when I'm walking in a store because they assume I have my glasses on, that I'm sighted fully and capable of noticing them when they just dart across in front of me. And that's not the case. And I almost mowed a couple people over because of that. So now I'm getting into the habit now that if I go to a public place, I am going to carry my cane because the next time somebody cuts me off like that, I'm going to smack them with my cane. No ifs, ands, or buts. That's why I have that shirt design in my merch. If you're in my bubble, you can be prepared. I am going to smack you, and I'm going to smack you hard. No ifs, ands, or buts. I will bruise or break an ankle. I ain't got no damn problems with that at all. Yes, I have definitely had a lot of training. I've had to use my cane since I was 16. And that was when I first started my cane training. I probably should have done it a little bit before that, but I started at 16 and I still don't use it nowhere near probably as often as I should. But I am getting myself into that habit that I am going to have to do it from now on so I don't have to worry about instances like at the casino couple years ago where me and my cousin were both using our canes and still managed to walk into that big tall dude and shoulder check him and spin his ass completely around. I surely thought he was going to kill us. That's crappy, Lauren. I'm sorry to hear that people took advantage of that because of you not noticing it was your turn. That's crappy. Don't do it again. And don't do it. Well, what do you mean don't do it? That's the fun part is smacking people that are sighted when they don't pay attention to the white cane. I'm just saying. I almost got hit by a car during my cane training, and that was my first reaction. As soon as I heard that car coming around the corner, is I smacked that damn car as hard as I possibly could. And then that person driving the car proceeded to honk and cuss me out and flip me off and yell at my cane instructor. And that was the wrong thing to do, because you do not want to get close to hitting me, because I will go absolutely batshit crazy and I will fight and argue and scream and threaten people. I know a lot of people in our community will say not to use your cane as a weapon. But I'll tell you right now, this right here is painful. I don't care if I bend it, especially now that I got a spare. This aluminum is painful and it will injure somebody in a quickness. And you seen it only took me a second to break it down to have it this way. And I will definitely use this as a defense tool. In fact, I'll be doing a video on self-defense by using your cane. I know a lot of people in the community say not to use your cane for self-defense, but I'm a big-time advocate for using your aluminum cane as a defense tool. Because it's nice and hard, and it will hurt, and it'll make somebody back the fuck off in an instant. I've been there. I've done that. I don't care what other people say. I took self-defense courses, and I'm going to be taking another self-defense course here in the near future, thanks to my buddy Karma Cashflow, who's going to be helping me get back into doing mixed martial arts again. And yeah, I'll be sharing here because that is one of my things, is to hopefully help our community so you can defend yourselves in any way, shape, or form possible. I know there's, as I said, a lot of the people in our community who have said don't use your cane, but I say use your damn cane. If you have it done and you do it right, they're not going to be able to take your cane from you. Therefore, use your cane, because I'm going to show you exactly how you use your cane for self-defense and ensure that the attacker cannot take your cane from you. Run into stuff all the time, wrap me and bubble wrap. Oh, that's crappy, Greg. Yes, Dale, self-defense. Self-defense is a good thing, especially for you ladies. That's the main reason I'm going to do self-defense, is because I want to ensure you women are capable of protecting yourself, because I know us guys will put up a fight anyway. But it's you in the community who have a bigger target on your back because you are female. People assume because you're visually impaired or blind that they can sexually harass you or abuse you. And that's going to be my goal, is to help you learn self-defense tactics so you don't have to worry about that abuse. Because if I find out anything happens to one of you ladies, sexually or anything like that, you can bet your ass I'll be coming to your community and finding somebody and beating the living fuck out of them. Leah says the ones that don't say to use their cane are independent and possibly don't live in a city. Exactly, Leah. Exactly. Because it it's very important to me that you ladies are capable of taking care of yourself, because I know that is one thing that is always on your mind. I have that thought in the back of my mind just because I am visually impaired, that people are going to take advantage of that and could physically abuse me. But I'm a guy, so I'm a little bit less worried about it than I am more worried about it for you ladies, because you have that bigger target, because they might find you attractive and want to take advantage of you or sexually abuse you or harass you or whatever. It, Human trafficking is a huge issue, no matter whether you're sighted or blind. And I don't want to hear or see anything like that happen. And that is my goal, to teach that self defense capabilities so you don't have to worry as much, because you'll be able to use your cane and other resources to defend yourself. Let's see. Well, you help me get to Estonia, sister, and I will go kick somebody's ass gladly. Kim says she's always wanted to take martial arts class, Aikido, or something like that. I When I was younger, I took karate, I took kung fu, and then I went and volunteered for a Marine Corps, and they do mixed martial arts of karate, jujitsu, aikido, and all kinds, kickboxing, boxing. There's just so many different self defense training techniques that I already have, but I don't use on a regular basis. That's why I'm going to be getting back into it, is so I can get back into having that capability, because the old saying goes, if you don't use it, you lose it. And I'm sure I haven't fully lost it, but I haven't used it. So I want to get back into that habit of being able to demonstrate and help our community to be able to do that kind of thing. So definitely stay tuned, Kim, because I will be sharing things just like that. I've seen enough abusers in my life, not only physically, but also all kinds of abuse. That's why I'm a firm believer of self defense. Yes. See, a lot of people think that the Second Amendment right to bear arms is just about guns, and it's not. The Second Amendment right is fully the ability to defend yourself. Besides the right to bear arms in a well regulated militia, that pertains to using any weapon of any type. Doesn't matter whether it's a firearm, a knife, a stick, a taser, anything like that. Second Amendment right is the right to defend yourself. And I will You can all tell just from yesterday's rant and previous rants that I am a big time advocate for self defense. Whether you're sighted or whether you're blind does not matter. I hope people understand that they should have self defense training of some sort. Just Samson, most people are not very well educated on what a white cane means. At some of my events, I have 130,000 plus attendees, and most have no clue. Our ADA team spends so much time educating our patrons. That's kind of funny that you said that, Samson, because that is actually one of the questions within today's episode. Yeah, I can understand that, Kim. I can understand your back not liking that, definitely. I myself have back issues, but that's the one thing that is actually nice about doing martial arts training is it can actually help with dealing with some of the back pain because it builds up a little bit more of a tolerance. It builds up a muscle memory. It builds up your muscles in general, and it can actually be beneficial to have those kind of trainings because of it. Okay, Dale, thank you for joining us. Greatly appreciated, and thank you for coming back and being a part of Team Replay. Hope you have a good afternoon, sister. All right. I think I spent a little bit too much time on that their first question, and I kind of went off topic a little bit, but we'll get back into today's questions. Number 3. What is your first thought when you see a blind person? Is it, well, I know for those of us here in the chat that it's not usually going to be something about taking advantage of us, but I would definitely love to hear your thoughts. What is the first thing you usually think of when you see somebody who is visually impaired or blind? Divided by sight. Yep. I'm sure that is definitely one of the most common thoughts. How what, Samson? Or are you saying how to help us? See, I told you guys this was going to be a good conversation for today's Leda challenge because doing it here with our community, and then I get to go into that community and I have potential at 550 some odd people answering these questions. So hopefully we'll get some misconceptions and stereotypes taken care of today. It might not be all 550 people, but there's going to be quite a few of them that are going to be hearing these questions and participating because we've been bouncing between each other's live streams as it is. Uh, Sue, I can definitely help you with the white cane education. No problem. Will you reach the cited answers to these? Yes, I will be getting the answers from the group when I do this today and be putting them into a note like what I've got up right now for me to ask the questions so I can share what the responses were. Kim and Greg, those are definitely two of them that I have already heard before out and about in my community. So, yep, I've actually heard the statement that you just used, Greg, referred to for me, and I have actually heard that as well for you, Kim, about people in my community up in Grand Rapids where I go for the Association for the Blind, because our support group that I used to go to on a regular basis on Fridays was co-ed, men and women. And that is one thing I heard a lot when we would go out for our lunch breaks is they'd see us and that would be their first thought of is, oh, that poor guy, or I wonder if she needs my help. Like when we would get to the restaurant and it's like, you've got like 10 blind people here with our instructors and council members for the association, but yet you persist to say that we're going to need help, even though you can tell we are fully capable. Yep, I've heard that too, Leah. That's definitely one thing that I've heard a lot, including from myself, is that they feel bad for us. All right, next question here. When you see a blind person, what is the first thing you notice? I know, kind of close to the same question a minute ago. That one was more what do you think? Now it's what do you notice first? Is it the white cane? Is it the way that we behave? Is it you're looking at our face to see if we have the dark sunglasses on? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that one. Just Sampson says, I work with 300% blind people, and when we are at an event and we come across someone else that is blind, the topic that always comes up is how and their level of blindness helps is given. Lauren says that they notice she thinks it's the cane or how our eyes move. I can definitely agree with that. Sue says that she notices the white cane first. Samson says he notices the way that we move. Thank you for participating. It's greatly appreciated. Now here comes that their question I was mentioning a minute ago to Samson that it was in here. Do you know what a white cane is and what it is for? Of course, we in the blind community already know this, but this whole thing is geared towards those who are sighted. So you in the blind community already know what the white cane is, but for those that are sighted, do you understand what a white cane is and why we use them? Yeah. Yes, Sue, that is pretty much accurate. It is to help us not only feel our way around, but it is to give us the ability to avoid hitting objects. It's our way of ensuring that we don't walk into the road if we're on a sidewalk or into a tree. Um, Depending on the different type of tip on the cane. In fact, I'll pull mine up here real quick. For instance, I have this cane tip here, which they are changeable. This one here rotates, it spins, so it glides across the pavement and floors a little bit easier. That way, it's easier for me to move it back and forth. But there's actually also other ones that are like metal tipped and are stationary, and they give more of an audible feedback than they do um, actually just being able to roll back and forth, which makes it a little bit more difficult to actually use. And then my other cane back here, my no jab, actually has a similar tip to the one I just showed you, and that one is stationary. It does not spin like the other one. And the different cane tips have different capabilities. Like there's another one that we call a snowball or a baseball tip, and it's very, very large. It's like 3, 4 inches around, and that makes it easier for some people in the community to have a better ability to differentiate like curbs or different things, to know that they're not going to step on something, whether it's a tree branch or a rake, or whether it's walking up to a curb and trying to differentiate whether it's a short curb or a tall curb, steps, things like that. um there's a lot of different reasons that we actually use the white cane, just besides travel. The white cane is also known as an identifier. There is actually a cane known as the identity cane, and it doesn't really so much have the big tips like that. It's just the long stick that is white with the red tip, and it's usually the most common one that some people assume is for the blind people, because you see them tapping it rather than sliding it across the ground. And those are usually the ones that you'll see a lot of people use at like the airports for those who are just low vision, is they have the identity cane to state that they are visually impaired, whereas our community here is extremely visually impaired, so we have the different tips to be able to assist us. So if you see one that's just a long stick without one of them extra different kind of tips on them, whether it's the roller or the baseball or the metal, them little thin ones are just to make it so you know that that person has a visual impairment. Whereas us in our community here in the chat, we have them different tips to be able to actually assist us when we're traveling, whether it's to make it ease of use of sliding across the pavement or across the grass, or it having a extra feature to make it easier for us to hear, to use echolocation, besides just identifying that we are visually impaired. Uh, okay, Leah says, my good looks is distracting. They don't see the white cane. um, I wouldn't deny that statement, Leah. I'm just saying. Because that was one of the first thoughts when I first come across your channel is, oh, look at the pretty blind lady. Greg, yeah, it's an ankle smasher is definitely true, ain't it? It also lets other people know that you're vision. Yup. Uh, it definitely agree with that statement, Lauren. It is definitely not wrong. Cause yeah, that was one of the first thoughts that went across my head when I come across Leah's channel the very first time. From the last couple minutes, I would have said that it's a weapon. Now, I would say it's a bumper of sorts. Yes. Uh, Sue said she didn't know about the tips could glide. Yes, I have the marshmallow tip. I don't like the big ball because I experimented with the different cane tips that I had available to me at the time. I've tried the metal one. I've tried the solid marshmallow tip that's back there that doesn't rotate, and then you have this marshmallow tip that does rotate. What? Then you have the plain tip where there's actually just a end. It'd be like taking this cane and instead of having the part here that actually attaches and goes inside of the cane, it would be just that tip there that goes inside and makes it so that it's just pointed on the end. There are, oh crap, there's a ton of different tips that we have available to us. But my least favorite, I think, out of the tips that I've tried are the big like marshmallow or not marshmallow, the snowball or baseball looking one. I don't like that gigantic ball. And I don't like the metal one because it does not slide that easy across pavement or in the grass. It's a pain in the butt, in my opinion. Yep, it's a weapon. And thank you, Samson. I'm glad that what I'm sharing today is helpful information for you and for the sighted community. It's great to know that I could be of help and give that value. Well, okay, you can, but you shouldn't, Greg, in my opinion. You can ask if you can pet a blind person's dog, but the important part about it is you don't ask to pet the dog while they are working. If you see somebody out in public with their guide dog, don't approach them to ask them if you can pet their dog because they're using that dog and that dog has to be focused on what the handler needs them to do. Now, if you go to a blind person's house or you're somewhere where the dog is not actually working, they're just sitting there, then it would be appropriate to be able to ask the handler if you could pet them. Every handler is different. I don't have one, but I have relatives who have had one, and that was always their rule. If they're using the guide dog, and they're working with their guide dog, then no, you do not ask or approach to ask to pet the dog. But if you are somewhere like their house or they come to your house and the dog's not actually doing anything to assist the blind person, then by all means do ask to pet the dog. Don't just automatically go up and do it. Just an FYI. Yes, agreed, Leah. That is my favorite as well. Is the marshmallow tip that is capable of rotating because it slides so much better. Yes, the tips definitely do depend on what you're doing for your activity and where you are. That's why I actually went with the marshmallow tip because it to me was the best multi-purpose tip. I can go through the grass with that one. I can go out on any type of pavement or store floor or any facility that has carpet or hardwood or tile or whatever, and I can use that cane. Where some of the other ones, they don't function so well on the different materials. Um, Kim says she thinks that the large ball tip is for tough terrain or rough terrain. It can be. Um, it really depends on your personal preference when you get your cane and when you do your own training on which one you prefer. But for the most case, everyone that I've seen use the large ball tip like that is been somebody who doesn't like the idea of walking up on steps and not knowing how big the step is, or walking up to a curb or things like that. I've never really noticed anybody, even when we've gone out in our support group on our walks, I've never really noticed people use the big one out in like the grass or things like that. I think the biggest thing it comes down to personal preference for each individual. Um, Lauren, if you want to try out the no jab cane, I would recommend getting a hold of Matt and Corey because of the no jab world tour. They are actually sending one of them canes out and around, and it's going around the United States now before it will be going out to the other countries for everybody to try and have that little bit of time with it before it gets sent to the next person. So I would definitely reach out to Matt and Corey about that. Um, I've only used it once so far, and our road here is pea gravel, so it's got all the nice little rocks and everything in it. It's not like smooth, super smooth cement. And when I went out that very first time on that pea gravel road, it irritated the living hell out of me because for it being a no jab cane, I was getting jabbed an awful goddamn lot. And I mean a lot. Like every two steps, I was getting the handle to jerk because it would stick into the pavement. And I'm going to be looking into a different tip, and I'm going to be experimenting on the different floors and pavement types to really give a good test, because I'm going to do a video of a review of the no jab versus the standard. Because Matt would tell you that he believes that the no jab should be the standard rather than what we have now. And for the most part, I would agree because of that spring capability. it should be one of our standard canes because I know it's a pain in the ass to get jabbed in the stomach or in the chest or wherever because it bumped into something. But it still needs a little bit of refining, I think, so far. But as I said, I've only used it the one time on the pavement so far. So that will be something I'm going to experiment with more and be giving a actual video review on what I like and what I don't like and why. So you'll probably like that episode coming up shortly. When should one consider getting a guide dog? Uh okay. First question from Lauren is when should somebody consider getting a guide dog? Depending on your level of sight, depends on when you should consider getting a guide dog. From what I've heard, if you're just low vision and you still have a good amount of sight yet, not that we have good sight to begin with, but if you can see a good distance yet out in front of you, like 6, 8, 10 foot, then you don't necessarily need a guide dog just yet, at least from what I've been told. There is some stipulations depending on the dog trainers that they have a specific guideline of what your sight is before they will even allow you to train or apply to get a guide dog because they want to ensure that what little sight you do have is not going to override that dog in its training. Because if you still have a little bit of sight like I do, they feel that if you have that sight and you can see that couple foot away, that your dog's not going to be able to be trained well enough to assist you because you're going to counteract what the dog is trained to do. For instance, if you have a little bit of sight and you have a guide dog and you're walking down the road, the dog is supposed to stop you at the intersection before crossing. That way, you know that there's something there. If you watch Blind and Proud, she actually has been showing in some of her videos lately how she works with her dog. And he's freaking awesome. I love watching her videos because it has actually helped me learn quite a bit about the guide dog training that she's had to take and how they behave. So that way I will be better prepared for when I'm capable of having one. Because one of our facilities here in Michigan that does do guide dogs has very strict restrictions on what level of sight you have before you can even apply to have one. But the guide dog is supposed to stop you when you come to an intersection or a curb. They are to walk around trees so you don't get hit by low lying branches. They're supposed to avoid people. There is a lot that goes into their training. And once they get that training and get handed off to their handler from now on, that person has to go through more training with that dog so they know the commands and how to behave with their dog. Because if you're walking and you come to an intersection and you can see the walk sign per se across the street, and your dog doesn't know about the walk sign, you're going to be sitting there going, well, let's go. And the dog's going to sit there like, well, what the hell are you trying to tell me to do? Or like if you want to jaywalk, for instance, you don't want to be at the intersection and you have that limited amount of sight, you might want to cross before the intersection and your dog does not want to do that, but you're going to force it to do that because you have that low level of sight. So there is a lot that actually goes into getting a guide dog. If I were you, my recommendation would be to see where in your area down there who has guide dogs and see what their requirements are, because each facility is actually different when it comes down to who can apply, at what level site they can apply, and all kinds of crap. But that is a definite good question. Thank you for that. Next question from Leah is, are the big tip for people that have less sensitivity? Yes, I do believe that is another reason that the large tips like that are for extra sensory as well, because it does give a lot more of a tactile feedback from vibration, especially on like pavement and things like that. It will help a little bit more with the vibration into the handle, as well as giving a little bit more of an audible sound as well for the echolocation. The rollerball rolls over roots and cracks in sidewalks a little bit better. Yes, I would agree with that. Um, that's why I was saying I like my marshmallow tip, because I think it actually glides over those things a little bit easier compared to the rigid. At some from Just Samson, at some of my events in 2018, we ended up with a couple canes in the lost and found each night. Some people just party too hard, I guess. Is it very common to lose your cane when you're out? Not really. If that person is visually impaired and uses their cane on a regular basis, it is very normal for the occasional misplacement, but no, not usually. People who have to use those canes on a regular basis will not allow them to be lost or put somewhere because they need it. And I don't know about our community here in the live stream right now. That's a good question. Have you, in the chat, let us know, have you lost your cane while you've been out, either at a family function or in an event or out grocery shopping, anything like that before? Because to me, it would seem that it's not all that common, because we depend on them so much that we would be lost without it. Really? You lose yours all the time? I would think that maybe you'd set it down or set it somewhere, but you would sit there and search for it real quick to find it, rather than actually lose it completely to where somebody else finds it and brings it to a lost and found, and you're just walking all over willy-nilly trying to find it or not using it at all. But that's definitely a good question, Samson. Thank you. Yeah, see right there. Perfect answer from Greg. I had a feeling you'd be saying something like that, because I'm the same way. I know where my cane is at all times. That's why I got this one back here, and I got the other one over here. That way I could demonstrate a little bit, because it when it comes to us and using our canes, it's like a life or death situation. It's a Marine and his rifle, brother. That's how I look at it. A blind guy without his cane, or a blind person without their cane, it's just like our Marine Corps rifleman's cane. Without my cane, I am useless. Without my with my cane without me, it is useless. So in that sense, that I would expect it to be pretty much universal without the community, but there is the occasional oddball like Leah who's like, I lose it all the time. Which is very surprising because it would seem to me like everybody would have that defined moment of, I set it off over here next to this, so I know I took this many steps away from it, so I would know where it's at. Or even if it fell over onto the ground, you would know it's in that same general vicinity, so you wouldn't really be losing it as in somebody taking it and walking away with it. Interesting, Leah. Thank you for your input on that one. I did not think about the kids having I did not think of the whole kids aspect when I got that question. Good point. Because being a mother and trying to keep up with two little ones is definitely going to make it a little bit more difficult. Oh, I'd been pissed, Greg. If I was you, I'd been absolutely freaking furious. Yeah, Leah, good question from Greg. Do your kids play with your cane or mess with your cane? We are over the hour. Just an FYI, I am going to try to go through and get these questions done here in just a second because I know were a little bit over, but I am grateful for all of you staying and participating in this chat and this live stream because that was what I was kind of hoping for, was to have a little bit of a discussion. I was not absolutely worried about today going over time. So thank you all for staying this long. It's greatly appreciated. I love seeing everybody here and having these discussions, not only for us, but for you in the sighted community to be able to have a little bit more of understanding from us in the blind and visually impaired community. It's greatly appreciated. Uh, just Samson says, one of the other issues we have at our bigger events is people with no disabilities trying to enter with service animals, service cats, lizards, monkeys, mini horses, etc. Yeah, they're freaking what do they call them? Um they're emotional support animals, and I understand that some people might have anxiety and things like that, but there are so many people out there who are taking advantage of that whole situation. It pisses me off, Simpson. So I totally understand that. Because it's like, okay, we in the disabled community actually have legitimate reasons to have our service animals, and you have a person who has absolutely no disability at all other than the fact that they want to be pansy asses and go, I got bad feelings about going outside, I need an emotional support animal. No, you don't. You need to grow your ass the fuck up. It's called being human. It's called having a regular emotion. You might have a phobia of some type, but you can get over that phobia. That's been proven time and time and time again by multiple doctors. So I totally understand when it comes to that there, Samson, because I cannot stand seeing people trying to take advantage of the system just to have the ability to go, oh well, my cat or my dog or my lizard is an emotional support animal, so they have to go with me absolutely everywhere. And that pisses me off because it's like, how is it that you have no disability, but you're going to get a doctor's note for a support animal and you can go absolutely anywhere and not have issues, where we in the blind and visually impaired community, whether we have a dog or not, still have issues when we go to places like that. Like, I've seen people get denied service into a grocery store. I've seen people get denied service at restaurants, in airports, and all kinds of stuff. How is it we have support dogs for our community and we can get discriminated against, which violates federal law? The ADA is a federal law. How is it that they can get past and have no issues, but we in our community have all these issues? That pisses me off. And I'm getting to the point to where if I do have any more of them kind of situations myself, the cops are going to get called because I'm going to make the cops enforce the damn law. Because if they don't, I'm going to sue the company or place I'm at, and then I'm going to sue the police department on top of it. That whole situation irritates the living hell out of me. It seems like this makes it harder for the people that really need it. Yes, it does, Samson, because like for instance, me being a Native American, when I go to gatherings, I have to use my cane because in our culture, you are not allowed to have dogs near our powwow circle. One is because we don't want them to be grabbing onto our leathers or our medicine pouches or our eagle feathers or anything like that for our belongings. But then on top of it, because of our cultural teachings, the dog is representative of being the original human from way back in the day. Now, that's a whole long series of stories there to explain that. But the dog represents the dog soldier, the warrior, in protecting our teachings and things like that. And that's why at powwows we're not allowed to have dogs there. And if you do have a service animal, you must stay away from the powwow circle for that reason, because we don't want that kind of a bad medicine there, because it is representative of being on the attack to defend things, and we don't need that bad medicine within the circle because it is overpowering in a sense, to the point that it makes it seem more as if somebody or something in the area is going out and doing things that are bad, and then secondary is the fact of them grabbing our regalia or our eagle feathers or anything like that. Oh, damn, Greg, you're good at making me laugh. I love that comment. Meet my emotional support clown. Yeah, there we go. Perfect example. The fakes normally give up and leave the animals outside the gates and go into the show. Then I end up with a mini zoo at the end of the show. Some people are just not human. You can say that again, brother. That people like that irritate the living hell out of me. All right, back on topic here. Um, of course, I already know this answer is gonna come across pretty easy for those of you that are here. Uh, Number 6. Do you know a blind person? Well, obviously, if you're here watching this show and you're in the sighted community, we've already been talking about this and you kind of know me, so that counts as one already. And then you've been participating and chatting with everybody here in the live stream, so now you know even more. But do you personally? Well, Samson has already stated that he knows a few different blind people from being in his career and doing events and things like that. So, do you know somebody who's blind? I know, kind of a stupid question, but at the same time, not really, because if you don't know somebody who's blind already, other than being here on this channel, then it is a good thing that you are here watching the channel because now you're going to get first-hand knowledge from those who are blind and visually impaired. Oh, lost 2 viewers. Oh well. Yeah. Whoever it was that left, it was greatly appreciated that you were here with us. Thank you for stopping by. Let's go on to the next question here. Now, I'm sure our community is going to love this next question because it's one that I came up with a little while ago and I kind of did it to be a smartass, but yet at the same time, I did it to be serious because I would like to know, and I know there's a few community members out there who would actually like to know this answer as well. Holly, hello, my love. How are you doing this evening? It's great to see you here. I was wondering why I seen it on my computer pop up, but not on my phone because you're on Facebook. Hello. I will give you a call in a little bit once you're out of work. I was going to call earlier, but I didn't know if you had seen my comment in your live stream in time, and I didn't want to interrupt you at work. You know me. I'm considerate of people. I don't like interrupting you while you're working. You're gonna love the next question because I already know your answer, Holly. Would you date or marry a blind person? What a wonderful question for you in the sighted community because this actually shows whether or not you have that thought in the back of your head, which could be considered to some people as discrimination because you wouldn't be open to someone in our community. Now, I'm not saying that you wouldn't or would, or that you are being offensive or discriminative towards our community. It's just something that does run through our minds in the blind community and visually impaired community is whether or not people in the sighted community do actually see us as viable partners because they might feel like we're too dependent on somebody who's sighted, or maybe that they don't find us attractive because we cannot see and we cannot see them, that is a downfall, because then some people would feel like we wouldn't make the comment of, well, you're beautiful or you're handsome, or I like the way you look in your dress or in that outfit or your hairstyle or whatever the situation may be. I know that firsthand because that was something I dealt with, and Holly on Facebook can actually attest for this one, is that was one of my biggest issues prior to her and I in our relationship. And it was something that I was afraid of because I was actually told when I was younger by a couple different women that they would not go out with me because I am visually impaired. They thought I was an awesome friend and attractive and everything else. But because the mere fact that I could go blind just like that at any moment scared the shit out of them. So they would not have a relationship with me for that reason. So I'm curious, would you date or marry somebody who is visually impaired or blind? I know it's one of them wonderful questions that you really don't want to answer, but would like to hear your answer because it's not that we're judging you, we're just curious to see if people are actually willing to participate and discuss these kind of things so we understand better between our communities, whether you're sighted or whether you're blind. We're trying to break some of these misconceptions. Just Samson said, sure, I would and did years ago. Awesome, brother. Greatly appreciated, and I love getting this participation back from you. It's greatly appreciated more than you may ever know. Because I know this topic for today is going to be beneficial to those out in our community who have that thought in the back of their head that we're going to be single for our entire lives or not have relationships because of our own thoughts and perceptions of how the sighted community thinks of us. All right, next question. Number 8. Have you ever experienced visual impairment yourself? Have you ever gone temporarily blind from an injury? Have you gone temporarily blind or visually impaired due to a health condition where it caused a temporary blindness or impairment that was treatable to give you back your full sight? Or have you injured yourself to a point to where you had to have surgery in order to fix that injury but still ended up with an impairment? We're just curious if you've ever had anything like that of any type, whether it's getting dirt in your eye and it really screwing with it, scratching your corneas, or anything. Have you ever experienced any type of visual impairment of any type? Lauren says, meh, still think that way. It's hard meeting people when you're shy, let alone bring blind and visually impaired. Oh, thank you, Just Samson. Greatly appreciated, brother. Yeah, drive safe and hope you're doing good down there with them damn wildfires still going and everything. Okay, number 9 is the next one. Don't say that you are legally blind without your glasses because that goes directly against the definition of legal blindness. That irritates me to know it. Heh. Yeah. I'm legally blind with them on or with them off. It don't matter. My impairment, the only thing these damn things do is make things just a little bit more clear. It don't help on anything else other than that. Hey, I take my glasses off. I'm more blind than I would love to admit. It's not that I'm not legally blind with them off. It's just I can see just a tad bit clearer than without them. Okay, number 9. Okay, I'm gonna love the answers on this one. What do you admire most about the blind and visually impaired? Is it the fact that we have to deal with these struggles on a daily basis and keep pushing through? Is it the fact that we are capable of sitting here having these discussions like this to help educate the sighted as well as support our blind community? What is it that you admire about us that are visually impaired or legally blind or completely blind? Because this is one question that actually came from our community a few episodes ago. So I'm curious, what is it that you admire about us? The next question ought to be the one that really, really makes everybody in the community happy that I'm going to ask. But I'm curious what your thoughts are. What is it that you admire about us as visually impaired or blind? Well, I know you were directing it at the sighted people, but I'm just saying, I had to give my 2 cents, Kim. You know, I can't sit here and read them and not be able to give that input. Tenacity and in being adaptable. Yes, that is definitely one good aspect for our community, Lauren. Thank you for putting that up there. Double check, make sure I'm not missing anything because I noticed Holly come in. I want to make sure I didn't miss any other comments from Facebook. No. Alright. Looks good to go. Alright. Last question. Number 10. Why do you in the sighted community think that we in the blind or visually impaired community are unemployed or underemployed? There is the one question that gets a lot of issues within our community. This is one of the biggest misconceptions that people have. So, this is one of the most important questions that I can ask you in the sighted community is why do you think we do not have jobs? Why do you think we collect government money? to be able to survive on a daily basis? Why do you think we have no employment? If you can answer that one, I would be greatly appreciative. Yep, that would be one of the reasons, Lauren. That is definitely one reason. People think blind people can't do the job safely or accurately. Yep, that's definitely one of those misconceptions. Oh, pardon me. Uh, Greg says, and to add to that, would you stay with someone if they weren't blind? Yeah, that's a thank you for adding into that, Greg. Great question. I know it was a couple questions ago, but it goes back to the thought of would you date or marry a blind person? Now, as well as would you be willing to stay with somebody should they become blind? Whether it's from a hereditary disease, whether it's from an injury, anything like that. If you are with somebody in a relationship, if they should become visually impaired or blind, would you even stay with them? Or would that be something that actually would be the last straw with you in your relationship, as if that person was to actually go blind because you have the perception of being the one to be dependent on all the time or something along those lines? Thank you for adding that, Greg. Greatly appreciated, brother. Give a second for answers to come in a minute. So I would definitely love to hear a thought on that added question, as well as the last question of why do you think we are unemployed, underemployed, or on disability instead of working like everybody else? While I wait a minute for these answers to come in, I would like to take this opportunity to ask a couple other things. What is your biggest struggle? What is it that you might need help with, whether you're here in the blind and visually impaired community or whether you're sighted? Is there anything that I can be able to help you with? Doesn't matter whether it's technology to go live on YouTube or on other platforms. Is it something you might need help with for education when it comes down to being blind and visually impaired? Is there anything? Is there anything that you have that you struggle with that I might be able to help you out with? Doesn't matter what it is. I have a lot of different life experiences that could be beneficial to help you out in your situation. Be more than happy to assist you. And if you do have questions, it would be greatly appreciated if you would put question in all caps. That way, it makes it a little bit easier for me to see that it is there and I don't have to scan through the chat or comments as hard to be able to find your question. And finally, to touch on a subject from the other day, if you would like to contribute to this channel monetarily, you can send a donation to the link below at paypal.me/ravenandrew. Now, why am I putting this up here? Because my goal is not to make all kinds of money off of you here at this channel, but it is a goal to get off of disability, and this would be one way you could contribute to me in this channel to be able to further the production quality as well as to contribute to charity, because I will be donating to charity as well. In fact, if you donate today, I will be giving that money and all the money raised the rest of this month over the next week. If you contribute, it will be going to the Retina Foundation of the Southwest. Why would I want to donate to the Retina Foundation of the Southwest? Well, that's because that's where I was in my clinical trial for 4 years for X-linked retinitis pigmentosa. And when I did that clinical trial, the doctors down there actually paid everything. They paid for my plane ticket round trip as well as for my companion to go, and that was $600 each ticket. So that's $1,200 just for me to fly down there and fly home. They also paid for my hotel room for the couple days that I was there. My very first year, I was actually there for 4 days, and then every year after that, for the following three, I was there for 2.5 days, and that was approximately $480 the first year for my hotel room, and then the following 3 years after that was $200 for my hotel room. They also paid for my food the whole time I was there, my transportation to the appointment as well as to the airport and back. And when they had my driver from the airport to and from, I was actually in a limo. Not necessarily a stretch limo, but it was still classified as a limo, which was kind of cool. First time I could ever say I actually rode in one. And they paid for the extra testing that was done by one of the outside sources for one of their partner doctors. And that eye testing there in consultation with him was another $400. So that was over a couple $1,000s that got spent just for me to go and participate in that clinical trial. And they are a 501c3 nonprofit, and I would love to be able to contribute to them because of the things that I have seen them do, not only with me but with our community in general for the blind and visually impaired, because they do offer a lot of services to our community for free. And people may not realize it, but when you come down to it, the eye testing does cost quite a bit because it takes a lot of different equipment as well as a lot of experience to be able to do all those different tests. And if you contribute, it is greatly appreciated if you contribute. It is not required. Uh, Okay, question from Divided by Sight. How to record videos on phone. Have a tripod, but it's hard to turn the camera on. Um, what do you mean, Lauren? If it's on the tripod, um, I would have to see how you're setting it up because I'm not sure if you're like my tripod is a regular camera tripod, but I also have the smooth gimbal, which is a handheld piece for my phone, and I have that attached to my tripod, and it sits on top of there, and I have the regular screen like you would be looking at is my camera that I use, the front facing camera. And that way I can not only see that I'm lined up on my computer, but I know that my phone is sitting just above my camera screen, so I have two of the same image. One has the actual footage that you're seeing with all the overlays and things like that, and then my phone is set up so I can see it on there to make sure that it's working as well. There you go, Lauren. If you check out Greg's comment below yours, he says to use your settings, and you can turn on voice commands and have Siri tell you could tell Siri to start and stop recording. Thank you, Greg, for helping on that. I'm glad you know about the iPhones because I have absolutely no clue when it comes to iPhone. I absolutely hate Apple products. I sorry. I am an Android user. I'm a PC user. I cannot stand Apple and I cannot stand Mac. That crap irritates me. They make stuff so stupid, in my opinion. That's why I don't use them. I played with one of my cousin's phones back when Apple first started doing phones, and I did not like it, not one bit. When I was in high school, we had the all-in-one Apple computers, and they were not designed for accessibility. They were quite a big pain in the ass for me, so I don't like Apple products. But for all of you that are here, if I have to, I do have people like Greg here, the Blind Guy Show, who do actually understand and use Apple products. So if I don't know it, somebody within my community does. And if there's anything by chance that I don't know, or if maybe Greg doesn't know, I do have capability of talking to some people like Pat Flynn or Karma Cashflow, David Foster from Live Streaming Pros, D. Niman, Nick Niman, Roberto Blake, just to name a few, that they do actually use some of them same tools themselves. And I can ask them as well if we aren't able to answer your questions for you. Uh, Greg, she's asking where in the settings do you go to turn it on? Because I definitely ain't got a clue to learn. Greg is definitely going to be the one to have to answer on that one. I will continue our stream for a couple more minutes. That way, Greg can help you with that question because I really have no idea. I'm sure it's somewhere in your settings. It would be in there, probably underneath the idea of voice commands or something like that, but I don't know. Greg, if you could answer that one about where we're at in the settings, possibly where she can look to find it, it would be greatly appreciated, brother, and thank you. Yeah, it's good to learn something new, but I don't like iPhones or Apple products. It To me, they never made things accessible in the past, so that's why I went to Android because I knew Android had accessibility features that I could use easily. Okay, divided by site. He says in your main settings, then in your camera. There you go. Glad that we could help you out there, Lauren. Awesome. Thank you again, Greg, for your assistance on that situation. Greatly appreciated, brother. With that said, I think we will end today's stream. We went just over 2 hours, and I would like to thank everybody for coming and staying this long. It is greatly appreciated. I did not really plan on taking this long, but I'm glad that it was able to be of value and assist everybody to be able to learn a little bit more. It is greatly appreciated for your participation, both from the blind and visually impaired community, as well as from all of you in the sighted community. If you were not here with us in the live stream, please, when you comment, leave a comment below with hashtag team replay so we know that you did get to see this in the replay, as well as go ahead and answer any of your or ask any of your questions there, and I will be happy to answer any of them that I can solely alone. But if you do have questions, we will be doing another series of videos like this as well, of more questions we have for you in the sighted community, as well as giving the answers for the comments from you as well, from the Leda challenge that I'm going to be doing here in a little bit, to share the answers and hopefully be able to educate people more. And it is greatly appreciated that you are here in the live stream as well as watching this in the replay. If you're new, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell so you can stay updated on the latest videos, live streams, and more. I will be live streaming all of this month, as I said, for the Leda challenge. So we've got one more week of daily live streams. After that, I will not be live every single day in September. This is not the usual thing, but I will be continuing to go live on a regular basis. I will be figuring out exactly how often and what times here in the near future. And it is greatly appreciated that you were here with me and with our community and engaging with all of us as well. Again, if you would like to contribute to the channel, you can contribute at paypal.me/Raven Andrew. Not required, but is greatly appreciated. You'll be helping out the channel as well as contributing to charity. So, thank you again for joining me today, everyone. It was great to have you here and have these discussions. I hope everybody has a wonderful afternoon, evening, or day, depending on where you are in the world. I will be back here again tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Pacific. I hope you have a great day. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace out, everybody.